Hello, 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 and welcome to the Mystic Nerd Squad podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Meyerson, and I'm joined today by Camille Miller, and I'm so excited to have her here with us today. She is a transformational leader and celebrated influencer in the field of entrepreneurship. Her mission is simple: to inspire and support others in bringing their gifts to the world. She specializes in designing lifestyle businesses for very logical minded, high caliber individuals who are meant for bigger things. She is the leader of the impressive global business incubator, the Soul Professional Society, and recently opened her Soul Professional School, a global interactive learning center and mentorship program for soul led micro entrepreneurs. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this conversation. Welcome, Camille.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly, for having me today.
Yeah, this is such a cool conversation personally for me as an entrepreneur. What you're doing here is so exciting. But I just want to start with, how did you come up with the idea for an alternative business school?
So I feel like I've been teaching business for decades, right?
Mhm.
And in my one-on-one work, I'm a business designer. I help people really create businesses around who they are. Last year, it was always in my retirement plan to teach school, but I thought it was a university. So last year I was like, I'm in my upper 50s. I was like, let me start applying because what if I don't like it? And this has been my plan all my life. So I applied for to be an adjunct professor and I got hired and I started teaching MBA students global business strategy. It's called Advanced Business Strategy, I think, right? And we did all the things that we did when I got my MBA like 35 years ago, right? We taught all the big companies, the Nikes, the McDonald's, the Disney, like we studied all of them. But I couldn't help myself but come home every night and just be like, this is not what people need anymore. I mean, such a
Mm,
small percentage of people actually are ever going to work for these billion-dollar companies and really be a CEO, right? Really be there. And most people today go into entrepreneurship. And that's why 9 years ago, I started my company called the Natural Life Business Partnership, which is the umbrella company for the Soul Professional Society and the Soul Professional Business School, was because I saw this shift in entrepreneurship and
mhm.
micro entrepreneurship, which means you make in the business world, it's less than 5 million, but for me, it's like under 1 million. And most of my people just want to hit 100,000 consistently,
Mhm.
like not like real micro, and they're in service or not creating products. And colleges and universities have these big innovation centers that are all around product development. And I was like, this is so interesting because I see a different world. And
Right.
I had talked to some colleges and wrote to them to see if they needed an executive staff that would help with the service industry. Nobody was interested. So I was like, well, I'm not going to try to push this on a system that doesn't really acknowledge what's happening in the world. Um,
Yeah.
I'll just open my own. So I was like, I am a professor. I'll just open my own. So I beta tested it all summer long. So it's fairly new. And I took the regular business curriculum and what I really do take my high-end clients through, like things like mission statements and vision statements and your unique value proposition and sales funnels and how you introduce yourself. But I added all the soulful stuff that my
Mm.
people need, was like, what makes you so unique? Like, who are you at your core? If you could do it for free, what would you actually do in the world? And when you start to have conversations like that, you're developing a business around that authentic person, right? From a
Exactly.
place that you're not out there like marketing and screaming from the mountaintops, but you're really doing it authentically by building relationships and people trusting you. And that's how I teach. So I wrote the entire curriculum around that, like really understanding why we use avatars, right?
Mhm.
And knowing that that's like 80% and using the words that people call you and um So it's really developing a business. And then when we went through and I saw the incredible success our beta team had, I like crazy. I was like, yeah, I think I got something here. So we launched the school this September. We will be bringing in other professors from around the world, and we want them to be at the caliber that they've taught higher ed most of the time. And that doesn't mean that I'll never have someone who hasn't taught higher ed, because it could be a lot like me, but they're teaching from a place of soul and authenticity,
Hmm.
not what we've always been taught.
Right.
And they've actually done it themselves. And I think
Right.
that's the most important piece. I will say that the university that hired me actually acknowledged and loved my unique background, right? It's very eclectic, but they totally embraced it, and that's what they wanted. So I kind of see that because I'm multi-passionate, and I think
Hmm.
most of our creative individuals are, right? They're very logically brained. That's how I am. I'm very logically brained, but I'm soul-led, and I have this entire creative side to me. So that's really what the school's for. So it's a very niche school, but it's for soul-led micro entrepreneurs in service, which is a good percentage of the world. And it's international. So we teach people. Right now, we represent about 23 countries.
That is so
Yeah.
incredible. And I think it's so needed at this point, because I think about all the people that I personally knew that through the pandemic were like, I don't want to do the 9 to 5
Yeah.
anymore. I
Yeah.
don't want to do a career that doesn't feel like it's coming from my soul and my
Exactly.
heart and helping people, being in service to people. So I think the timing is incredible. And what really excites me and what stands out is that you're coming from the perspective of someone who has a degree in business, who has done business, but has also done soul driven
Yes.
business
Yeah.
herself. So I don't know that there's many people like you out there, Camille. How do we get a Camille in the world? Like, where did you start in your career to land at this amazing intersection?
So it was a lot of different jobs, and
Mhm.
that's what I like tell my kids. I have kids that are just launching careers right now, and I'm like, you just kind of figure yourself out. It doesn't really matter. Like, what do you like? What do you don't like? And being able to explore. And I had parents that allowed me to just explore and allowed me to be who I was. I've always been a worker. I've always been a learner. I still learn. Um, so I'm always watching. I'm very good at seeing trends. But I started actually my career. I was my first degree was in counseling psychology, and I did that while I worked full time through college and realized, God, I hate this job. But I knew I liked to help people,
Right,
but
right,
I did not like counseling psychology because I like people were just bringing you my problem, like their problems all the time. That was not where I wanted to be. It was
right.
very negative to me, not
Yeah.
where I wanted to be. So I knew that very early on. So when I came out of college, I started volunteering my time for a local charity, and someone said, you can get paid in like there are nonprofit jobs. And I was like, you are kidding me. So I applied for a development job it was actually in a hospital, and I got hired, and it started a big career in the not-for-profit sector. So I've worked in the not-for-profit sector for many, many years. Um,
Mhm.
I left, went into real estate, became a broker, owned my own firm, became a big investor, changed my life again because then someone's like, hey, will you come back and help me in this not-for-profit world? And I was like, all right, I'll help, but this isn't what I do right now. Ended up helping this special needs school that was local to me. And then someone heard that I was back in nonprofit. They offered me a CEO job in another nonprofit. So I was like, okay, so I'm going back into nonprofit. And that's where I was before I created this job, this
Mhm.
company. Um, it was called the Northeast Organic Farming Association. I got to work in Washington on our food and health system, but I met a lot of really soul-aligned individuals that were
Mm.
doing other things in the world. Like they could be working on Wall Street. Of course, there was a lot of farmers, which I think are our best scientists in the world,
Mm.
right? Farmers are amazing. But I learned so much in that job that when I came out, I really wanted to help these people that were so in their passion, but not actually making money doing it.
Mhm.
So that became a passion of what fueled it. So when we opened up, we were really a like coffee club. And that's why today I still have what's called Coffee with Camille with my members. Because we used to meet for coffee. We started in New Jersey and then Pennsylvania and Delaware and Connecticut. And all of a sudden it was like growing, growing, growing. And I was like, I'm a single mom. And my kids were young at that time. I was like, there is no way I could keep this up. Um, and it was in late 20, it was 2017 when I got a call from someone in California and they're like, oh my God, I've been watching you. I can't wait for you to come out here. And I knew in that moment, I did not have a sustainable model. I was like,
Mm.
crap. I was like, there is no way this makes sense, right? How am I going to do this? And I knew I wanted it not to be chapters. Like
Mhm.
I wanted it to be a whole community. Now I was just thinking national. I didn't know it would be what it is today. Um, and then I met someone who told me about this thing called Zoom. And they're like, I've been taking classes on this thing called Zoom. And I immediately knew that this was our future, like immediately. So by January of 2018, we went to an all Zoom, no chapter model. Now, I will tell you how hard that was. And we lost a lot of members because they were like, no way, I'm not going on camera. This is not how I'm doing my work. And I just had a knowing, I am in,
Yeah.
but I just had an absolute knowing that this is where we were going. And so I started teaching people how to use Zoom, how to run meetings, how to how to do it all. And then by 2019, we went international because we had the platform. And then in early 2020, I was like, we are just going for this high-end entrepreneur, that people that are really ready to step up and really create businesses and wealth. 3 months later, we were in a global pandemic,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it all like, we already had our model. We didn't have to pivot. We didn't have to change. We didn't have to do anything. So all those people that were watching us all came over. So we grew too fast. Not too, like I was one person with
Yeah.
like no team.
Wow.
I was just having a good time. And all of a sudden I was running this big company. And so there was a lot of growing pains, a lot of things I had to figure out. Um, by 2021, I adopted and trademarked the Soul Professional brand. We rebranded, we did a whole website, we kind of cleaned up our back end. We had like levels of membership. Um, but it ended up growing into a company that was too large for me, and I didn't really like it.
Mm.
Right. So it was a big learning curve for me. And I was just like, I don't want all these people in here that I don't know, and I'm not actually helping.
Right.
Right. And I knew all along this was not a networking group. This was something bigger. And it was it became a business incubator. And I always ran everything and did everything. So I knew everyone's business. So last year in July, I I kind of just went, I gotta let a lot of this go so I can be who I was in the beginning.
Mm.
So let the big marketing teams go and the staff go, and I merged all of the levels. I let my lowest level, which was called basic, is now free. So we actually give the same membership people are paying $40 a month for, absolutely for free. And I was like, my mission is to help other people bring their gifts to the world. And if I can do it for people that aren't ready to invest in themselves, that's okay too. Because eventually they'll get to where I am. So I don't do any of the mindset work and everything, which I used to do a lot of that, just preparing people. That's not me anymore. So I work with
Yeah.
a much more successful person
Mhm.
at this level. And, in the premium membership, I know every single person. I know all of their business models. It's a much different, and I like it. So now we're smaller, we're more boutique. Obviously our free level is quite large. So it was just time for the school to also launch.
Yeah.
And I've run so many businesses in so many industries, and I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs in all of these different industries, doctors and scientists and lawyers and CPAs. And, now I'm talking to someone from a furniture company, like that are just having these aha moments. Was like, this doesn't make my heart sing. So what will?
Mm-hmm.
Worked with a CEO of a hospital that stepped down and bought a little small business for himself. It was just like, okay, I've made the money, but this isn't my life. The interesting thing is my clients used to be between like 48 and say 62, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were in that transitional. That's when they realized, okay, I made the money and I'm still not happy.
Yeah,
But
something
now they're
else.
coming to me like in their 30s. Like they're not
Mm,
even playing that game. They're like, I'm a creative and this is what I want to do in the world. So that's where I really felt like there is no education for people that haven't done it. And even these people going into passions didn't study business models. And if they did, not for an entrepreneur in service, they
mm-mm,
just don't teach it.
mm-mm.
So I just felt like it was time because that's what people really need, a business education, and they need mentorship to set it all up. Right. But once they
Yes.
set the model, I always say, you can turn it on or you can turn it back. When you need more money, you turn it up. When you need less money or you want to take a vacation, you turn it back. Like I traveled Europe in July. My money didn't change.
Mm,
Right. So, and that's what I teach people. Like the model should work anyway. It doesn't mean that you sit back and flow and everything just comes to you naturally. That is not, you still have to show up. You still have to show up.
yeah.
Right? But we just do it in a place that feels really authentic and good. And I can use me as the model, right? And I've done so many businesses at this point and helped so many people that I know models. But that's not to say people come and they're like, I'm thinking of trying this. And I was like, all right, let's brainstorm it. Let's like make sure it has like, all the performance indicators that we need and the cash flow is there. And, we still teach finance and taxes and because you have to know that part, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's still
Preach.
the way it works. Yeah. Yeah. Even currencies and time zones, but that's part of it. Cultural differences,
Mm-hmm.
those are all really, really important, but today most of us have these, at least the people I work with, have these global businesses. You can work with anyone, anywhere in the world. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, you're clearly a trailblazer because you were using Zoom before people were using Zoom.
Yes.
Um, and you can see the trends. You can see the trending. Like you said, people used to be making these transitions, 48, 50 and up, but now it's happening in 30s, and we
Yeah.
can anticipate that this is going to become just a different track of
Yeah.
career path. And
Yeah.
so a school like yours that really focuses, yes, on the service, yes, on the soul perspective of it, doing something that really is a passion and really is in service, but also the business piece of things, because I think that is such a missing link. There's so much noise, especially on social media. You've either got people who are like, I've got the quick fix for you to figure this out, follow my plan for $10,000 months, or you've got people who are like, it gets to be easy, it gets to be in flow. And what you don't see behind the scenes is they probably spent 10 years building a business,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
for people who are disillusioned, they think I follow this person and they're going to help me. So I love the transparency of what you're doing. And I think also that it's really based in that business knowledge. You cannot grow a business without the financial piece, without taxes and understanding how you create something that has a foundation to last, not something that becomes like something you do short term and then and the bubble bursts and you can no longer continue
Yeah.
it because it's not sustainable.
Right. It's not, a business is not quick money.
Hmm.
Right. And if you put stuff out there from a lack perspective, like I need money now, I need clients, I need clients, it's never going to work. It's never
Yeah.
going to work. And you're always
Yeah.
going to be in this resistance state. So we break that down and have those conversations. And I say when, people graduate from the fundamentals program, which is what I teach now, um, like you have to constantly go back and tweak because you become better, right? Your
Hmm.
prices have to increase, your packages have to be redesigned. Like you have to keep moving as you move and you develop and you mature. Your clients also do,
Hmm.
right? Because you attract people that are like 2 years behind you, 2 to 5 years behind you,
Right.
right? So as you grow, your clientele increases with it, right? So there was a place where I was with all the struggle people, right? And now I'm in a place where I'm with highly successful people really transforming, right?
Yeah,
They expect by year one to be in six figures, right?
that's
So
huge.
yeah, it's huge, but you also have to be realistic and be like, you have to put in the work. If you stop the beginning, like, because we teach them the flow of business. So, but if you stop having conversations or networking or meeting people, then that shows up in your business 90 days from now. So when like
Right.
you're on vacation in August, you have to look at, what's going to happen October, November if you didn't have all your, fail safes in, like if you didn't figure that out ahead of time. So, and a
Yeah.
lot of people don't look at it because they're in survival mode most of the time in business. They just want to pay their bills. They just want to pay their bills. And you have to have a plan. I say you have to have a moving plan. It's like, to me, it's like a live working document
Right.
of what's working. But you have to constantly look back. And as entrepreneurs, we're kind of on our own. It's very lonely. It's very lonely being an entrepreneur. So that's where the business incubator comes in, and most people go into membership. So I know your model. So I'm like, did you do it? Hey, I'm checking in. Hey, I haven't seen you. Like, where are you? If you're falling behind, let's make sure we jump on a call. Let's get you there, because there's high days and low days. And sometimes you have those feelings in the same day. And I am no
Hmm.
different. I have those same days. I have accountability partners and people that I check in with daily to make sure that I'm staying in a good headspace.
That's such a big perspective, because I think it can look to some people, someone of your caliber who has reached this pinnacle moment, pivoting, doing all the really cool things, and be like, she's living the dream. Like, she just wakes up and it's easy. And we're sort of selling this false hope of like, one, you don't do a 9 to 5 and you're gonna be so much happier. It's gonna be so much easier. You're gonna have all this time freedom. And the thing is, it's like you said, it's dynamic. It's not something you can just create and assume that it's gonna have the momentum to keep itself going. It doesn't happen without cultivation.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard because people see that, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
know all the work that goes into it, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
was able to tour Europe this summer in July, but I busted my ass in June, right up to I left. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't check in for the weeks I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I came back, you're still a little bit in catch up mode. At least the summer was a little quieter, so I know that, and I've done it enough times now that I know what the pattern's going to look like,
Mm.
but that's that, I'm 9 years
Yeah.
into a business
Yeah.
that I was strapped to for a long time
Yeah.
until I figured out all the nuances, right?
Yeah.
And and that's the thing. It has freedom, but I think it's freedom to change things. Like I was out at I was actually at a cocktail party last night with a bunch of women that I met in a business setting. And one of them was a photographer, and she's having this opening in Times Square less like 4 weeks from now. And I was like, well, we're all going, right? Like, we got to support you. You're freaking in a billboard on Times Square. I was like, we're
Mm-hmm.
going. And then I didn't think of that. And I was like, what do you mean you didn't think of that? I was like, I honestly do not know what's in my calendar that day, but I will clear it and make this happen. Let's all get into New York City, right? And go celebrate you and your wins. And it's so important, but like I had no idea. But that's the flexibility that it allows me, because I came back and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna have a staff meeting that day. I'm gonna shift things around, and it gives you that flexibility, right? So
Yeah.
it does give you time. One of the things I also notice is, as an entrepreneur, I get to travel a lot. And if I ask friends that are in, time for money jobs, they can't go. They don't have that time. They don't have that type of vacation time. They're like, we don't have that kind of vacation time. If I take 2 weeks with you, I can't also go do this. And I was like, oh, I totally forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I
Mm-hmm.
can vacation a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I just came from Europe. About every other month, I go do something. But reminding people that took 9 years, right? My kids just got through college and graduated. Like, it is not like I'm a single mom. I had the struggle. I had the holy crap, how am I putting food on the, like, I had all of that too.
Yeah.
And there are still moments where I'm like, oh my God, did I overextend myself? There are still those moments. They don't go away. They just get bigger.
Yeah.
They get bigger.
So what do you do when you hit those moments? Because I can totally relate to that. I did a little bit of that to myself this summer, even like when you're like, oh my gosh, I started the ball rolling in too many different directions. And
Yeah.
you're like, how do I scatter myself and pull it back together? What is like your practice when you get in that state to kind of come back to center and feel like you can progress forward?
Do you mean like in your business? Or do you mean in
Either,
life?
yeah,
In
in your
life.
business and in life too.
So
Because yeah.
I will say in business, one of the things I'm doing right now, uh, uh, I've pinpointed like 5 things I'm just letting go of. Whether they're successful or not, I'm just letting go because I need to create space for this new thing.
Hmm.
Um, so I've done a podcast. This is in my 9th season of a podcast. I'm in my final season. It is ending. I have like 3 more interviews to go and it's done. It'll run through the end of the year, but I'm done doing my part
Mm-hmm.
because it took a lot of time. It wasn't really monetized. I loved it, but I'm like, I can just get on other people's podcasts. I don't have to do this. Right. So my collaborative book series, my 3rd book comes out tomorrow, next month, about 3
Mm-hmm.
weeks. That's it. I'm done. Like, it was always in my head. It was a 3-part thing. My last one's coming out. I'm done. So that frees up my plate. I did this whole Soul Adventures travel division. That's on hiatus. I closed it, but now I'm having second thoughts. So it is on hiatus right now. Um, because it took a lot of work to push that out there. Like, you can't launch more than one thing at a time. And right
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
100% of my energy is in this school.
Yes.
100%. So I have to let all of this other stuff go because when you have too many things, one, your audience gets very confused, right? But you're only mediocre at everything. You have to
Yes.
stay in your zone of excellence. You
Mm-hmm.
have to. If you're only staying in your zone of like, I'm really good at this, you could be making money,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not your highest self. When you're at your highest self, you work a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know my highest self is designing businesses. I have a gift to see what other people can't. I can literally hear it when I talk to you, exactly what you're supposed to do. It is a gift. I've always known I've had it. That's why people come to me to talk all the time. Hey, can I take you to coffee? It's because
Mm-hmm.
they need something, right? Not all the time, but I knew, but I had this gift 20 years ago.
Right.
Right now, I'm like, why am I not like just doing this? This is what I do, and this is what I do in the school too, in the business fundamentals. I will not be teaching all the other classes. We will have finance. We are going to actually do a personal investment piece of it because I think people need to know once you start making money, what are you doing with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that I think the school system has failed us in will be in this, and it's really adult learning. It's not for
Mm-hmm.
kids. It's for
Mm-hmm.
adult learners. Um, um, so the thing is to stay very focused. That's like, what do? You have to just say, is this part of my mission? Right?
Yes.
My mission
Yeah.
is to help other people bring their gifts to the world. Is what I'm doing helping that mission, or am I mission creeping, like getting away from it? Am I doing something other than that exact mission? And keep bringing yourself. You should not have more than 2 or 3 things out there at any time.
Yeah.
Anytime, even packages, when we design packages and flows for people, like, get rid of all that crap.
I love that.
Yeah.
For myself personally. Because I get that it's hard when you're so multi-passionate and you don't want to abandon any of these things that you've put
Yeah.
energy into, but it sounds like you've had a near lifetime of experience of having something and then being like it's okay to shift and pivot to something different. And yeah, I think that's such a fierce approach, but I think it's also what is helping you to continue to make an impact.
Yeah, you have to let go to level up. You have to.
Ah,
There's no other way to do it.
mm-hmm,
You have to let go in order to level up. And you have to have that space. So as I let all of these things go, now it'll take till the end of the year for all of this stuff, right? And I made the decision last July. So
mm,
I had to go through a year, but I knew I call it the light at the end of the tunnel. If there's not a light at the end of your tunnel, you can't see it. Like you can't get through the tunnel, right?
mm-hmm,
But I knew it was all dropping. So what's going to
mm-hmm.
happen is all of a sudden I'm going to have all of this free time, right? That I spend probably another 20 hours a week doing all of this stuff, right? And that's going to allow me to focus so hard in the school that it can't help but level up, because that's where all of my time and energy is going,
Right.
at getting it better, right? So that's what happens. You have to focus. You have to focus, and I think niching down is really important too. That's where the money is. You have to be so laser focused. I mean, my school alone is laser focused,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a golden thread through everything that all of us do. There's some type of passion and golden thread, even though we're multi-passionate. For me, it was always helping people.
Mm.
I did it in every single business I had. I was in service to others. Every single business I had, through many industries, I was always in service to others. That's what I wanted. Make other people's lives just happier and easier and better. But with business, I'm good at it. But when other people, it was my belief that when other people bring their gifts to the world, it makes other people's lives easier. So I'm actually giving those people a ripple effect,
Yep.
right? Because they're rippling out and helping more and more people in the world. And I can't touch everyone, but if I can touch your life and you help 100 more people, then that was a reflection of who I helped too. That was my impact in the world. So
Mm.
that's the way I look at it. So the more people I help, and that's why it also helped me level up the people that I help, right? Because when you're in struggle mode, I can't get you out. That's not my job anymore, right? You can do inner work and really amazing work with other people. But after that, then when you are ready to actually make the money and structure it and do the work, that's where I come in, because I want the ripple effect. I want you making the money, because you also need wealth in your life to create an impact,
Yep.
right? Because if when you're whole and happy and satisfied, you give that your energy to others, and that's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So I always say, how many people can I impact when I do this? When I open the school, I can impact so many more people. Even if I'm teaching 5, 10 people a semester, which I hope eventually will be way more than that, and they help 100 people each, right? And then the next semester I help 20 people and they help 100 people each,
It's
right?
a million so fast.
Right, right. And that's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
idea. So yeah, and it's really just keeping your focus on what is my goal here. And we do that all in the school,
Mm-hmm.
right? I make everyone do these missions, these visions, these unique talent surveys. I make them go deep and I make them practice their words all the time.
Mm. I think that's so exciting, and to really connect with why you're doing this is always going to fuel you at those moments when you're like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I here? But then you can say, I know why I'm here. I know who I serve. I know what I'm doing. I know this is making a difference. Um, and then I love the perspective of it's a business. You have metrics to then show the impact that you're making. And so
Yes.
it's that reinforcement of it's not just I feel good. I had a really good session with someone, but like there is an impact and it is measurable, and anything we measure is going to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually measure like where people come in and where they leave the program. And in a year, we'll ask how many people they helped.
Mm,
So we can kind of measure that ripple effect. But we do work on the mental state too, because I am a
mm,
psyche facilitator. So when I work with people, sometimes I do have to clear out some subconscious beliefs. But sometimes they're so minor for big leaps, like big leaps. And a lot of times it's around worthiness and success, because they
yeah.
didn't believe that they could make like six figures or even the high six figures we worked on yesterday with someone in whatever their chosen profession is,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're leaving something very successful.
Yes.
Yeah, that happens like with a lot of doctors or lawyers that they're making massive money and they're like, I can't, how will I sustain myself? And I was like, well, it's a limiting belief if you think you can't make that same money. So let's work
Mm-hmm.
on that.
Mm.
And sometimes that's the session we need to have.
I love that. And I think that sense of worthiness is huge. And it's so likely to show up when you're making a transition from like a more typical professional career to, am I like, who am I to say that I'm going to do this and it's going to be me? Like that I feel is probably a piece of everyone's journey at some point,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to hop back. You briefly breezed by the fact that you have a book coming out, but I want to go back to
Okay.
that because that's another exciting piece of your journey coming up this fall. Beyond the School is the third installment of your book. So tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about your book and why was it three? Why was it going to be three of them?
So I never set out to be an author. I did not think that that's what I was going to do. What happened was I met who's now my publisher, Laura DeFranco of Brave Healer Productions, in like a one-on-one call in networking. And she was telling me what she was doing. And I was like, she was putting together collaborative books, they're collaborative books. And I was like, I can do that. I was like, that's kind of easy for me. I think I'll just do it. And she's like, okay. So literally, I didn't get on to be an author, but when I came off, I had signed a contract and I was like, it's going to be three. I just know. So a lot
Mm,
of it just is knowing. I'm very intuitive, but um I'm claircognizant too. So sometimes things are in my brain, but I don't know how they got there. So I was like, okay, it's going to be a three-part book and here are the titles. Like I knew it all. And so the first one was about building your business. So it's called The Ultimate Guide to Creating a Soul-Aligned Business. The second one is called The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Successful Soul Professional, because so many times people create the businesses, but they stay as a hobby. They don't
hmm
actually make the money. So it was actually about getting to six figures. And the third one's called The Ultimate Guide to Leaving Your Legacy. So now that you've made the money, what's the impact that you're actually leaving in the world? Because if you don't put intentions around it, it's not going to be the impact that you think.
mm,
So, right. And that's actually, I teach all of that stuff in the school, but, it's how I did it, but it's also how 22 to 25, depending on how many authors I had, did it too. So we
right.
all have the same theme. I start the book with my story, my thoughts. I write the first chapter and the last chapter, and then my co-authors write the chapters in between, just saying how they felt about it. And then I also interview them to ask, what made you be a part of this book? Like, why was this important to you?
Mm,
So they came out so much better than I thought, so much better. But now that I've done it, I will likely do solo books after this.
mhm.
Not next year though, because I just did three in a row. So
In the future,
yeah, I'm
plant the
taking
seed
that
for the
off my
future.
plate. Next year, my plate is clear except for the school.
Yeah, those are really exciting books because I don't think anything exists like that. Like I'm thinking like this is like the perfect trio to have in like a business school, like in their lending library. Like this is a
Yeah,
possibility for you and this is what it looks like.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all from a soul lens, obviously, but it's about, finding your passion and in the second book, I wrote a lot about the mistakes I made,
Mm,
like and how I ended up in debt, like making poor decisions on hiring people and because making money or having a successful company, if you talk to most entrepreneurs, there are some deep, dark days that you're just like, should I just close up? Should I
mhm.
just, I think I started one chapter with like, should I just get a real job?
Aw.
And, going after these dreams kind of had an underlying effect on ruining my marriage, but in a good
Mm,
way, as far as I'm
mm,
concerned. right? Because I left a very high paying career because I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do in the world. And it's okay. I'll make it back. Like, I'll
Yeah.
figure it out. So I know how fearful that is. I know how hard it is. I know what it's like for couples that are going through that. But I do believe in the end, it's kind of worth just, you being you,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
your freedom.
and just imagine, for somebody that's listening who is a micro entrepreneur, or even that's their goal to get to that point, to hear the possibility that exists for them. And if you can do it and the people in your school can do it, that's just evidence that it's possible.
Right.
So I think the books are so incredible because people are sharing their authentic stories.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there is no better way to learn or feel seen and understood by reading somebody who has a similar story or a story that you can relate to, in terms of what would be a challenge for you in being an entrepreneur, and choosing service and soulpreneurship and all those pieces of feeling lonely and uncertain and not having anybody to look to know, am I doing this right? Is this
Yeah.
the way this is supposed to go? So I think that's an incredible resource. And this school that you have started, I want you to come back and talk to me about the crazy success that you're having, because I'm like, wouldn't it be the coolest thing ever if this just became a model? This became globally, nationally available as a path to take. Imagine being a 30-year-old who's like, this is my dream. I want to be an entrepreneur. I've put in my couple of years. I did my college degree, and saying, I know exactly where I'm going, who I'm working with, how to do it, how to be successful, find all the balance, and then live the dream that I think we get into it for one, helping people, but also the financial and time freedom that comes from being a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, that is my goal. That's what I'm hoping. And there's great programs like yours that's getting the word out is the hardest part, because 100% of my work comes from word of mouth. Um, I think as we grow and next year we'll start advertising and things, I wanted to make sure that it really worked. And we know it does from the beta, but yeah, I mean, I think it will be the alternative. That's what we want. I just shouldn't even say the word think, because that is the model. That is what we're expecting it to be. And my guess is, when you're really good at something and you have a great idea, a lot of people copy you. But it's not the same. And that's exactly what I teach in the school, right? It's my energy that is pulling this thing together, right? So there will be other schools, there's other coaches, there's other business designers. They're not me though, right? And when each one of us starts our job on our business, there could be 1,000 people with the same title, but they're not you. And your uniqueness is you. Right. And no one can steal that. I could hand someone the business plan. They could come to all the classes and copy it. They're not me.
Yep.
And I think that's the energy and the essence that keeps it all together. Right. There's
Yes.
lots of people doing lots of things out there, but the masters are the masters.
Yep.
That's who everyone tries to copy.
Absolutely. And it's so funny to go on that journey of trying to be like all these other people, just to figure out that the more authentically yourself
Yeah.
you are, the better it goes. Irony.
Yeah. That's the
But
truth.
I think coming from that perspective too, that you're not looking for people to become a certain way. It's to be who they are, show up as they are, ready to do the work. And they're going to have crazy success if they put that effort in and themselves into what they're doing. So I love that so much. I'm thrilled for you. I will toot your horn and pass all the people your way, Camille, because we've spoken more times than just on camera today. And I really, truly believe that you are an amazing trend center in the best possible way. You are really going to change the world with the work that you're doing and the people that you're doing it with. So, thank you for being brave and being the first to jump into this with 2 feet.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for acknowledging it and letting me share your audience and tell people about it. I really appreciate you and your time.
Absolutely. And we, of course, in the show notes, will have all the ways that you can connect with Camille and especially check out the school if you feel that it will be a good fit for you. It will be opening this fall. And I know, Camille, you're already taking conversations with people who are interested. And there's an open house coming up, is there not?
Yep, August 29th, there's an
August
open
29th.
house. We will likely have one more because it ended up being a pretty bad week for a lot of people, but it will also be recorded.
Okay.
But I wanted the open house is really to give people the idea of what we're doing here, that it's not your typical program that you're seeing all over online, that it really is it's a school with business fundamentals, every aspect of business. So the open house will explain our vision in the world and then our September programs.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, taking the time. And again, everybody, check out the show notes for all the ways to connect with Camille. And hopefully, we'll see you at the open house. Take care,
Yeah, thanks,
everybody. Have a
Kelly.
great day. Bye now.